Some mountains are hard to climb. These ones you are not even allowed to try. Today we look at 5 mountains across 5 different parts of the world that you cannot visit, cannot summit, and in some cases cannot even approach, each one forbidden for a completely different reason. A sacred rock in the Australian desert that belongs to a people who have been asking visitors to leave it alone for 60,000 years. A volcanic spire in New Mexico where the spirits of the dead are said to live on the summit. A peak in Japan where women have been banned for 1,300 years and still are. The 3rd highest mountain in the world where every climber who reaches the top voluntarily stops a few feet short. And a mountain in India that the CIA turned into a nuclear disaster site in 1965 and then quietly left. This is mountain number 1. Shiprock rises 483 meters straight out of the flat desert floor of New Mexico. Its Navajo name is Tse Bita'i, the rock with wings. 3 enormous walls of volcanic rock stretch outward from the central spire like the wings of a colossal bird. The longest of these extends 5 kilometers across the desert, standing 45 meters tall but only a few meters wide at the top. It is 27 million years old, the hardened core of a volcano that eroded away, leaving only this. To the Navajo people, Shiprock is not simply a rock, it is a sacred site tied directly to their creation stories. According to Navajo tradition, the rock once carried their ancestors from the north to their present homeland. The peak appears throughout Navajo ceremonial chants and religious practice. And crucially, the women and children who legend says were once stranded on the summit and died, they are believed to remain as spirits. Climbing the rock, in Navajo belief, disturbs the dead. The first recorded ascent was by a Sierra Club team in 1939. For 30 years, climbers continued to attempt it. Then in March 1970, 3 climbers were seriously injured in a fall. The Navajo Nation banned all climbing across their entire territory immediately. Their formal statement used 3 words: absolute, final, and unconditional. Climbing teams have repeatedly approached Navajo authorities over the decades asking for the ban to be reconsidered. Every request has been refused. For mountain number 2, we fly west across the Pacific to Japan. This is mountain number 2, and it is the only mountain on this list where the ban applies specifically to half the population. Mount Oman rises to 1,719 meters in Nara Prefecture, Japan. At its summit stands Ominasanji Temple, the headquarters of Shugendo, an ancient Japanese spiritual practice that blends Buddhism, Shintoism, and mountain worship. Founded in the 8th century, Shugendo holds that enlightenment is reached through physical endurance in the mountains. Every year, male practitioners known as Yamabushi make the pilgrimage to the summit to complete a series of severe tests of courage, including being held over the edge of a 60-meter cliff by a rope and required to confess their sins. Women are not permitted to join them. The ban has been in place for at least 1,300 years. Wooden gates on every trail leading to the summit bear the inscription Nyonin Kekai, women's boundary. This is the last mountain in Japan to maintain such a restriction. In 2004, Mount Omin was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site as part of the sacred sites and pilgrimage routes in the key mountain range. Critics argued that UNESCO recognition gave a gender ban its official stamp of approval. The ban has been challenged repeatedly. It has never been lifted. For mountain number 3, we fly to the heart of Australia. This is mountain number 3. Uluru sits alone in the flat red desert of Central Australia, a single block of sandstone 348 meters tall, 9.4 kilometers around at its base. You may know it by its former European name, Ayers Rock. The Anang people, who have lived on this land for at least 60,000 years, call it Uluru, and to them it is not a geological curiosity. It is a living record of the creation period. The path that runs to the summit was the route taken by the Mala men, ancestral beings of profound spiritual significance. To walk that path without permission, in Anang belief, is an act of desecration. For decades, tourists climbed it anyway. In the 1990s, 74% of visitors still made the ascent despite signs at the base that read, "Please don't climb, this is our home." The Anang felt responsible for every person who got into difficulty on the rock. Under their belief system, they are the custodians of everyone who sets foot on their land. By 2019, the proportion of visitors climbing had dropped below 16%. In November 2017, the park board voted unanimously to close the climb permanently. On October 26, 2019, exactly 34 years after the Australian government formally returned ownership of Uluru to the Anangu, climbing became illegal. The chain and path have been removed. The summit is now what it always should have been. For mountain number 4, we fly southwest to the Himalayas. This is mountain number 4. It is the third highest mountain on Earth, and it has an official summit that no one has ever officially stood on. Kangchenjunga rises to 8,586 meters on the border between Nepal and the Indian state of Sikkim. Its name translates as the 5 treasures of the snow, referring to the 5 peaks of the massif, which local tradition holds to be the sacred repositories of gold, silver, gems, grain, and holy scripture. The mountain is sacred to the Lepcha people of Sikkim, who regard it as the home of their protective deities. The king of Sikkim at the time of the first ascent made one request of the British expedition: do not stand on the actual summit. The British team complied. On May 25, 1955, Joe Brown and George Band reached a point a few feet below the summit, close enough to see the top, and stopped. They turned around without taking the final steps. They had climbed one of the hardest mountains on Earth and chose not to finish it, out of respect for a people who had asked them not to. The climbers who followed the next day did the same. The tradition has continued ever since. Hundreds of climbers have reached Kangchenjunga since 1955. Almost none have stood on the actual summit. The top of the third highest mountain in the world remains technically unvisited. We fly northwest to India for mountain number 5. This is mountain number 5. And it is forbidden for a reason that has nothing to do with religion, tradition, or sacred belief. It is forbidden because in 1965, the CIA lost a nuclear device somewhere on its slopes, and it has never been found. Nanda Devi rises to 7,816 meters in the Indian state of Uttarakhand. It is India's second highest peak. In October 1964, China detonated its first atomic bomb. The CIA needed a way to monitor Chinese missile tests from inside Indian territory without sending spy planes that might trigger a diplomatic incident. The solution was audacious: recruit elite American and Indian mountaineers, disguise them as a scientific expedition, and have them install a nuclear-powered surveillance antenna near the summit of Nanda Devi, where it would have a clear line of sight over the Tibetan plateau. The team carried a device called a SNAP-19C, a plutonium-powered generator containing roughly a third of the plutonium used in the Nagasaki atomic bomb, up the mountain in September 1965. Near the summit, a violent blizzard hit. The expedition leader radioed the order to abandon the equipment and descend. The team secured the device on an ice shelf and retreated. When they returned the following spring, the entire shelf was gone. An avalanche had swept it clean. All that remained were fragments of rope. The device has never been recovered. Nanda Devi's glaciers feed the Rishi Ganga River, which flows directly into the Ganges, a source of drinking water and irrigation for hundreds of millions of people. The Indian government quietly closed the Nanda Devi sanctuary to visitors in the 1980s. The official reason given was environmental conservation. The device has been searched for multiple times. It has never been found. As glaciers in the region melt at an accelerating rate, scientists and local officials have renewed calls for a search, and nobody knows what the answer will be when the ice finally retreats.